Hello everyone, my name is Christian and welcome to my hobby blog. Well, today we are having a discussion on how to collect efficiently and smartly. I don't know if we're the best authorities on that, but I think we have enough experience with it to have some good tips and tricks for collecting. Welcome, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, I'm somewhat newer to collecting, but this is my fifth year now, and I think December. So, I'm getting up there. What's your history? I think we've discussed it before, but just to refresh.
Oh yeah, well, it's been a pathological problem for me since I was a kid collecting Transformers.
That's
And then
cool.
when I got older, I started collecting. I was really into music in high school, collected albums and books, and then when I got into film and became a film professor guy, started collecting movies. So now I think, let's see, I have 6,710 physical movies.
Hmm. And I'm sure a lot of that. I'm trying to think because a lot of box sets have been coming out where it just collects a bunch. So does it
Yeah,
kind of tip the scale on like you know actual physical releases and just sticking them all in one location now?
sure. Yeah, I always appreciate it when I can get a set that takes up less room.
So I
Um,
remember you talking about the Abramson set by Severin and how like you had all these DVDs like because it's
yeah,
alphabetical they were everywhere, and how you could have it like
yeah.
just grab it.
I really like it when they do director sets like that. And Al Adamson, in particular, the DVD releases were pretty low quality. So again, the Severin Blu-rays. I mean, the movies are mostly pretty bad too. But now at least they look good.
It sold out, so I don't even have the option. So it was decided for me to save money. But I guess that's a whole thing we can talk about is the whole saving money part, how to efficiently buy for collecting.
Well, um, one of the interesting things about collecting film in particular is that it's a lot easier these days to find high quality physical releases of um, exploitation and horror, low budget movies, independent movies, things like that, because big studios um, don't don't release as many of their films or don't release them in lavish packaging because um, they don't get big profit margins. So that leaves all this room for independent, small scale companies like Criterion and Vinegar Syndrome and Severin, Synapse, Mondo Macabro to have a kind of smaller market to themselves. And um, it almost seems like they cooperate in the way they schedule their yearly sales so that only one company is having a sale at any one time. It seems like anyway. It's like in May, you know, you're going to get a Vinegar Syndrome sale. In June, you're going to get a Severin sale. Um, July, you're going to get a Criterion sale at Barnes and Noble. Um, so, yeah, you can kind of schedule your, um, you can schedule the way you waste your money uh, to get the most bang for your buck.
And for me, I always, especially in the most recent Vinegar Syndrome, which I'm still waiting on my haul, on my $500 haul. I went
Wow.
a little crazy this time because I have a tax return coming, and I got a paycheck like in the middle of the sale on like Saturday, and I was like, oh okay. And I went in again, kept finding new stuff, but for me, I was listing by only limited editions that they had.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the non slips because they're available year round for like $20. I'm willing to pay $20 for you know the non slips. But when those slips go out, it's $100 per slip. Like
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
go like on Sweetbacks, that's $300 with the slip cover. So I I always say to buy those first if you're doing Vinegar Syndrome or Shout Factory,
Right.
Arrow. Get the limited editions if you can. Even if you don't like the movie but you're interested in it and you watch it once, you can always sell it for 5 times what you paid for. So
And of course, these companies know what they're doing. Uh, to people like us, they release these limited editions, knowing that they'll be able to get and sell them out pretty quickly. Um, but there is something to there is something nice about the packaging, and especially when it is a movie that you have a connection to, um, that makes it nice to have that kind of artwork and the slipcase and whatever.
yeah, I was really excited when Arrow released Tremors on 4K because I have been looking forever for an edition, and they just had like a typical $5 Blu-ray, no special features, not even subtitles. I don't think there was a collection of all the movies, but that went out of sale like real fast. But that's just the movie and the franchise I like, so I was really happy to shell out $45 for that because it comes with a big booklet, 2 or 3 documentaries, all sorts of stuff. So I also weigh in the content on the discs themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
So and Criterion's pretty good about lowering the price on stuff they don't have many features on, and Scream Factory with like Strays. I think that was like $12 maybe because there's no special features.
right. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I wonder, why certain films haven't uh, are chock full of special features and others aren't. But I guess a lot of it has to do with availability of people who worked on the film. Um, but I remember I picked up a movie called The Fear from Vinegar Syndrome, and it's a terrible movie. There's no entertainment value whatsoever. It's got like 2 commentary tracks and an hour-long documentary. Uh,
Or
I'll
like,
tell you, I'll tell you. I just got Arrow released. It's a Region B release, but I've got an all-region player. Um, this huge Dawn of the Dead box set comes with um, 4 cuts of the movie, 3 CDs of soundtrack music, and 2 books. So that's kind of amazing.
yeah, and I guess that's a good segue into saying to invest in an all region free player because I still haven't. I am just catching up on all the Region A that I don't have. So,
Right. Well, all region players at this point, I'm not even sure why they make locked players, because you can get a high quality region free player for under $150 now.
yeah, I'm hoping for Black Friday I'll finally spend money. But again, that's another sale, Vinegar Syndrome, and that's my subscription. I'm aiming for. So,
Right. But you're a 4K guy, so if you're going to get a 4K region free player, you're looking at closer to 250. But still,
yeah.
uh, once you have that player, that lasts forever. Well, not forever.
I take pretty good care, so it might be forever. Every
Yeah.
10 years buy one. But maybe weighing box sets versus individual releases. Is there anything you can say to that? If two companies have, like, great example, it just got announced yesterday, the Melvin Van Peebles set.
Yeah.
Vinegar Syndrome released Sweetback already. I think Insight or whatever, uh, the one with that starts with an I, that company released other movies by him. But
Yeah.
Criterion has it all together. Like, how do
I
you
think
choose?
I think so in a case like this, it can be difficult because usually, usually I would think get the box set and sell. the individual titles. But in the case of two uh, premium companies like Vinegar Syndrome and Criterion, you're going to have different special features. So Criterion, obviously, you get 4 films plus you get Mario Van Peebles' biopic, Badass, um, about the making of Sweet Sweetback. Um, but with the Vinegar Syndrome, you have some different commentaries and things like that. So yeah, I have a few titles like that where I've had to keep multiple releases just because of um, the different features. Um, and I feel weird about it, because it takes up the extra space, which is at a premium for me. Uh, I'm gonna have to invest in those DVD towers that rotate
Oh yeah.
because traditional shelving is not going to work much longer.
Yeah, it's funny because I think you were a little ticked off with Criterion about the Ingmar Bergman set because they had like 2 movies they didn't do, and each of those
Right.
one movies was in a separate eclipse, so it was like
That's right.
all this room like taken up for 2 movies.
Yeah, and this just gets into my personal pathology. So I have the complete Criterion collection, everything that they've ever released. So I have all of the Eclipse sets. Well, then they came out, and the Eclipse sets, for those who don't know what they are, they're collections of lesser known works that aren't going to get deluxe treatment um, because they won't sell well on their own, but packaged together, um, they tend to do okay in terms of sales, and they're usually films that fanatics really want to see. So Agnes Varda an Eclipse set, and then Criterion put out a Blu-ray director set that collected everything, including upgrading all of those Eclipse films.
Hmm.
So I sold my Eclipse set of Varda, but now on the shelf, the numbering is off by one set. Um, and so then they do the same thing with Ingmar Bergman, but let's see, the Ingmar Bergman Eclipse set that came out many years ago. Actually, it was the first. It was the very first Eclipse series that Criterion put out.
Hmm.
It has 5 movies in it: Torment, Crisis, Port of Call, Thirst, and To Joy. And the new box set has Crisis, Port of Call, Thirst, and To Joy, but does not have Torment. So I've got this Eclipse series. Now, Torment, Bergman didn't direct. It was his first produced screenplay, so I guess that was the reason. But still,
Yeah.
if you included Eclipse, how are you not going to include it in the Blu-ray director's set? So now I've got this whole Eclipse set that I have to keep. The problems of a collector.
Yeah, and for me, it's really hard for me to invest in individual titles, knowing that there may be a box set later, because that's the big thing I keep talking about is the Kurosawa box set. I've been saying for years they should just upgrade that so I don't have to sell all my individual ones. Because with the Bergman, I think they kept all the special features for each movie they did individually. I'm unsure, I don't have it, but like I'm very wary of buying Kurosawa right now for a while
Right.
because they're doing all these huge box sets like Fellini, Vada, Bergman, all that.
Right.
So it's tough to decide.
Yeah. Yeah. There are how many? There's one, two, three, four. There are 4 films that by Kurosawa that Criterion has not released yet, and I wonder if they're going to get any of them for the eventual director set. That's the only thing that would make it worth it for me.
Yeah. Because I had to rearrange my bookshelf today because I was looking at it and I have no room and everything is like stacked on top of each other. So
Yeah.
what I've been doing is I've been taking sections that have more than 10 like releases, like Vinegar Syndrome, all that, and stacking them horizontally and putting the heavy stuff on the bottom, and still doing it alphabetically. And it freed up a lot of room, but like a lot of that is Kurosawa. So, and John Carpenter, I'd like a Scream Factory John Carpenter set. That'd be cool. I don't know if they do it, but like director's box sets are so great, but they don't do it ever.
Yeah, yeah. I've been Vinegar Syndrome takes suggestions through their website, and I've sent several suggestions asking them to try and do a Wes Craven TV movie set.
Ooh, they are doing the
Um,
televised horror, so that could be
I
a
know
thing.
it's like they took half of my suggestion. So yeah, so I'm a big Wes Craven guy. So he did one film called Night Visions that never even got released at all in any form.
Hmm.
1990. That's got James Remar in it. It's about a detective and a psychic team up to track down a serial killer. It's pretty good. Not really. I'll
Makes
tell
me
you.
think of Dead Zone.
Oh, you know what makes the movie even funnier is the serial killer is called in the movie the Spread Eagle Killer,
Oh no.
which is the terrible name.
There's a very specific image that comes in my head when I hear that.
Exactly. And in case you're wondering, he's called that because when he kills people, he leaves their bodies spread eagled.
uh,
But he also did his Wes Craven's television films are always these hilarious premises. Invitation to Hell, starring Robert Urich, is about a yuppie family in the 80s who move into a new community and are recruited. They join an exclusive health spa, right, like a gym, a rec center, that's actually a portal to hell.
this is why I love the horror genre, because you get this like great premise for a while, and it's like bam, portal to hell, and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's like my favorite thing. That sounds awesome.
Um, I hope it happens one day.
Yeah, because it's funny because I saw a announcement by Vinegar Syndrome recently, like in the last week, where they say that said that they're gonna start theatrically distributing
Oh,
trauma movies. Like they're gonna work together to like remaster and do all that. And my first thought was Killer Condom, and I was like, is this
yeah.
finally when we're gonna get Killer Condom? Because
I
we've been
doubt,
wishing that for the last half decade.
I doubt it. I don't want to get my hopes up, so I'm just going to say I doubt it.
I was saying that for Getaven, Champagnes and Bullets. For years,
Yeah,
I've been looking for that movie,
yeah,
and they're doing it. So
yeah.
I'm a little more optimistic about releases in the future.
Yeah, there's several movies I'm holding out hope for. Some that have never been on anything except for VHS. But I would love it if they could do Cannibal the Musical, Trey Parker and Matt Stone's first movie.
Yeah,
That would be.
I remember seeing a copy at the library on DVD. So I never
Yeah,
watched it. I should have.
it's a great one. But anyway, we're talking about collecting in general, though, right?
Yeah.
Uh, one thing that I've found, especially now that I've gotten so many, is the need to kind of prune the hedges a little bit. Um, to kind of go through and pick out some things that to sell or to give away. It's difficult, um, and I still think I'm always bringing in more than I'm getting rid of. But you got to do it sometimes.
Yeah. I recently, like a month or two ago, I did a video where I took out all the like crappy DVDs I had of like 10 movies in a box, and it's like one movie
Yeah,
I like on there. I
yeah,
took all those out. I took out a couple box sets that I've never opened, like the Dark Knight trilogy, just because I don't care about those movies except for the second one. But even then, it's like, you know, I don't
Yeah.
want it anymore, and that cleared out a lot actually. And it was nice to finally have some sort of room, and then it got filled up again because Grindhouse Video Sale happened like the next day. So
Yeah. 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 These companies, they really attack your wallets. Um, Not that I'm complaining.
one thing, this is a great segue because I want to talk about the concept of the subscription that Vinegar Syndrome has
Yeah.
and how amazing that is. And I'm shocked that not many companies do that. It's just them.
You know, it is funny. I think it's good to compare Vinegar Syndrome to Severin in that instance, because what Severin does is they offer each month. It's like a big production about announcing what their movies will be for that month, and they usually package them as a bundle that comes with T-shirts and toys and figurines. I've got a stuffed doll from Anthropophagus that you can rip its guts out, and it's got a little Velcro so you can attach the guts to his mouth like he's eating his own guts. Yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'll pay $5 extra to get that. You know. And so that seems to be one method, right? They release a podcast every month, rolling out their titles and talking a little bit about each title and that they're releasing and some of the backstory and hyping their um, the premium side items, promotional items. And Vinegar Syndrome does that as well. They do a monthly announcement but they don't do any premium items. Instead, they offer you the opportunity to become a subscriber, and you pay what, like $700 or $800 a year, and you pay up front, which can be a little tough. But then each month you just automatically get a box with that month's titles, um, and that can be really appealing. It works out for them because they sell some stuff that you might not necessarily buy on its own. And it works out for the subscribers because you do save a little bit of money if you were considering that you would have bought everything. Um, but and they make it kind of exclusive because they only offer it twice a year that you can become a subscriber. It's like November to become a full year subscriber and May to become a half year subscriber. And I think that's a pretty good strategy. I assume it's working out for them because their releases continue to get more and more lavish, and occasionally even big titles like the Beastmasters.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot of box sets recently. They've had
Yeah,
3 volumes of the Jallo set. They've had 2 of the something I can't remember. They've had the starting the Cardona ones, the starting the televised terror ones, which
right,
I really wish I would have gotten. Oh, the homegrown horror collection. They're starting that.
right.
So
And I have to assume, I have no evidence to back this up, but I have to assume just logically that means that they're getting enough subscribers to justify the expense, because putting a box set together um, is a riskier investment for the company, right? You got to get the rights to several movies. You got to make the packaging. The retail price is going to be higher. So I have to say, I have to assume that that's a good sign for the market, um, that they're able to release so many box sets. We'll see.
yeah, I'm really interested to see what sold out because there was a lot that like you could choose from. I think I was telling you and a few others, like as the day went by, like that Saturday, that first full day, well, I guess that Friday, like you could see quantities of the slipcovers and box sets being like above 1,000, and then suddenly it's 400 left. It's like, oh
Right.
crap, like I gotta go get that. And that's what most of my haul was from Vinegar Syndrome. And I spent
Yeah.
as much money as the halfway, subscription. And when that happened, like after the weekend was done and I looked at how much I spent, I was like, oh, I could have just bought that. But I justify it as me catching up so that for the rest of the year I can just pick up what I want as it's like, still available. So for November, I can get a full year or just half a year. Because hopefully by then I've moved out and have a full-time job. So now that I'm
Yeah.
graduated, so
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah. So it's yeah. It's interesting the way those work out. And then there's smaller companies too, like Mondo Macabro, which specializes in European and South Asian um, horror and exploitation movies, and they release just a couple of titles each month, and they do limited edition, like a run of 1,000 of like red slip covers,
hmm.
or they're red cases and um, have slip covers, um, and then they revert to regular retail editions, and those are kind of neat to pick up. They've got a lot of good titles in their catalog. Synapse is another one. They only release um, one or two titles a season. They're kind of a one at a time company, but they specialize in really, really great restorations of, um, like Dario Argento movies and um, Lucio Fulci, Jorge Grau zombie films, um, and they do steelbook editions, and so really really nice. And you just get them one at a time. So whenever Synapse announces a new title, it's going to be a quality release, and it's going to be the only thing that they're releasing for quite some time, and that kind of makes it um, a special occasion as well. So they all have their different strategies based on, I guess, their capacity, how many people they have working for them, how much money they have to invest. I like the subscription model. Um, I don't know that it would work out for the smaller companies as well, but I like the way each company kind of has its own personality that way.
Yeah, and I was talking to Era 4444, the new
Yeah,
Asian-based horror line.
right.
I bought Anatomia Extinction like a few months ago, and they're kind of behind. It's the first release ever, so there's lots of patience and love around them for like the first release. But I was asking them, I was like, you get like Vinegar Syndrome and maybe some more will start doing subscription-based stuff. What kind of business models similar to that have you guys been like thinking about, or is it like on the horizon, so on and so forth?
Yeah.
And they said that once they get at least like a year's worth and see how the sales have been, they'll rethink it. They
Oh,
do want to get to that eventually. And that Anatomia set like sold a lot of units that first day because everyone's really excited that we're getting an Asian based horror line. So
right. And I haven't been able to get any of those yet. Um, of course, they only sell like one at a time, right? I
yeah.
can't. The old ones aren't even on. The older releases aren't even up anymore. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll reprint a few, and if they stay viable, another one I have to catch up on.
Yeah, Anatomia is the first one and it hasn't even finished yet. It keeps
Oh, really?
being, yeah, there's like supply chain issues going on. So
Oh,
that was another one I forgot about that I bought, like the Christopher Lee set, because I bought it back in like February, I think. And I finally saw the remake Tokyo Gore Police last week, and it was
mhm.
awesome. Loved it. So because that was why I wanted to buy it, because I wanted to see the differences.
So Tokyo Gore Police is a remake of Anatomia Extinction.
Yes,
Ah,
I saw that online when they posted it, because I've never even heard of this, but I'd heard of Tokyo Gore Police because I think you showed the trailer in class, and I was like, I'm sold on this. And I added it to my list, and I just haven't gone around to it until last week because Netflix actually had it like on DVD rental, so that's how I saw it. But they haven't even put up pre-orders yet for that next set that I was talking about. It was a collection of movies where they liken it to David Cronenberg and David Lynch go on vacation and trip on acid in
Right.
Japan. And I was like, I'm sold based on that, but I watched the trailers and it was awesome. But I think for new companies, it must be hard competing with, Vinegar Syndrome and Mondo Macabre and all those.
Yeah.
Especially rights issues, because we see a lot, especially with Django. That's the most famous example. Just rights getting bought left and right by
Right.
everybody.
I made a lot of money off of that because I had I had 2 copies somehow of the Blue Underground Django, and then I got a copy of both the Steelbook and the box set of Django and Texas Adios from Arrow before it got suppressed. And so then I kept the Steelbook for myself and sold the other 3 at jacked up prices on eBay. And then they sorted it all out, and now you can get them for regular.
Yeah, it's so funny because I've been debating on that like set because I'm like, I really like the movie, but like I need to see the special features, and there's also like 50 movies in the series basically with different actors and such, of course, but it's very much like I don't know what other series compares to that of having so many movies. James Bond, maybe? Zatoichi?
Well, yeah, I think the difference with Django is that so many of the Django movies are just shameless ripoffs. Like they're different movies and they just say it's Django, right? Like it's not the same character, it's not the same actor. So it's not like James Bond in that it's a series of like continuing adventures. They're all totally different. There's no actual sequel to Django. It's just all these different spaghetti westerns that say, oh yeah, this is Django. And then of course there are other series that are knockoffs of Django, like Sartana and Ringo, and all that. So the Italian industry, which is so, or at least during that time, was so geared towards just shameless ripoffs, which I say fondly, because so many of the movies, and it's fine because like doing that kind of strategy allowed a lot of independent filmmakers who had radical things to say to have the money they needed to make their film. So it's like as long as you call it Django and you've got some handsome Italian guy playing an anti-hero, then you can make whatever film you want.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the zombie franchise, quote unquote, where the first one's
Yeah.
Dawn the Dead, Lucio Fulci's Zombie, and Zombie
Right.
2 is Flesh Eaters or something.
No, so Lucio Fulci's film was called Zombie 2 when it was released in Europe because Dawn of the Dead was called Zombie in Europe. So they make Zombie 2, they call Fulci's film Zombie 2, even though it has nothing to do with Dawn of the Dead, just so that they can market it as a sequel. And then when they release it in America, it's called Zombie because there is no Zombie 2. So when you watch Lucio Fulci's Zombie, you are watching both Zombie and Zombie 2.
2 for 1.
Then there's Zombie 3, which started out as a Lucio Fulci film, but he got sick during the making of it, and it was finished by Bruno Mattei, and it's terrible. Then there was a Zombie 4 called, which also has nothing to do with, the series. And finally, a film by Joe D'Amato called Killing Birds, which Vinegar Syndrome actually just released, that was then retitled Zombie 5 Killing Birds.
I just
And
bought that one. The sale.
well, you're in luck. You do not need to see Zombie 3, or Zombie 4 to know what's going on. You can watch Zombie 5 on its own.
The slipcover was awesome, and it's been on my list forever. But it's never changed, and nobody buys it. And this sale, I finally noticed the quantity go down a bit, and I was like, okay, I'll get it. It's been like a year or two since it's been on that, you know, limited edition. Like,
Right. So while we were talking, I went to Error 4444 and bought Anatomia.
hey, how many copies are left?
It said it was 91% sold out. I don't know if that they might just be saying that. Who knows? But it's your fault. It's your fault that I just did that.
Well, hey, you're supporting a new label.
Right. Yeah, I'm doing my part to support small business.
That was the big attitude around it when it got pre-orders when everyone bought one. So, but trying to think what else. We got about 5 minutes left. So,
Well, for me, collecting in general has always been about, as somebody who's just really into film, I've always wanted, I always wanted to be able to, if I taught a class or if I had a group of friends over and I wanted to like show them David Cronenberg, that I'd be able to show them everything by David Cronenberg, or I'd be able to show them like the perfect series of film noir, or uh, westerns that nobody had ever heard of but are amazing, you know. And so I've always sought out films based on the director, based on the quality of the release, um, and based on the quality of the film. And those are the factors that go into to my collecting. And as we were talking about, I'm always looking for sales and deals and hidden gems that I might not know about. But for me, part of the motivation is, I get a lot of pleasure out of watching the films, but also, taking care of them, putting them on display. It's kind of like, which is why the packaging is nice. But also, it feels like you're helping with preservation, because
yeah.
with streaming services, the rights to movies expire and then they're gone. You can't access them. And now that the streaming services are starting to proliferate like cable, like there's almost as many streaming services now as there were cable channels before, but you have to subscribe to each one to get to their content. And I don't, that's just not feasible. And I think that creates an attitude of impermanence. Like a show will be on and it'll be a big deal, or a movie will be on and it'll be a big deal, and then just it's gone, and there's no more. There's no like cultural importance and no afterlife for it. And collecting physical media is just slower. You take your time. You have a physical interaction with the media. You have to make a decision to watch it, right? You actually have to go to the shelf, select it, put it into your player, sit down and watch, as opposed to just opening up a streaming service and letting the algorithm scroll stuff past you until you eventually settle on something that's not very good in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
So that's my like high and mighty bullshit rationale for hoarding stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree on the film preservation part, because for me, like, I remember when I first started collecting, I asked you, I was like, should I focus on like the mainstream classics or go for like the weird and like stuff I've never heard of? And you were like, do a mix, get stuff you actually like, and then explore from there. So I went with David Lynch, Kurosawa, Cronenberg, because I had that 15 movie haul from Criterion,
Yeah.
where I grabbed one from each director, and I just went with what I watched and what I liked, and then went from there. And that's definitely a huge help in collecting, because now most of my stuff I can put into groups like cult films. I can put the 70s, Giallo together, Japanese, and so on and so forth. So
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that was really good advice of me.
yeah, thank you.
Well, and I know you got to go. So the last thing I'll say is, you're a perfect example of the importance of this physical preservation, right? Because, I got this DVD that Troma released of Killer Condom back in like, I don't know, 2004, something like that. And I've held on to it. I've seen it many times. Um, and now, I teach classes, cult films classes, and I showed it to you, what, 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago?
I think it was 2016 fall
Okay, so about
is when
six
I
years.
took your first cult films class, and I showed it and
Yeah,
Tampico.
yeah, and and it became a favorite movie of yours, and you shared it with other people, and that, and I've taught it again since, and so it's like you get a chance to share this stuff with other people, and it becomes special, as opposed to, again, just scrolling through a Netflix queue. Um, you if you've seen Killer Condom, you're going to talk about it with somebody.
It's definitely keeping the movie alive in the conscience.
Absolutely, I feel like the directors probably owe us some royalties.
I
Um,
actually saw my copy because I bought a copy from McKay's. Last place I would ever find Killer Condom or look for Killer Condom, but it was there because at one point they were buying up a lot of cheap DVD like Lucio Fulci, Killer Condom, Trauma, like all this stuff because they could upscale it because no one knew them.
right,
And I saw it there for like $20 or something. I was like, yeah, that's worth it, and I bought it.
absolutely.
I'm still waiting for re-release.
To all your listeners, if you can find a copy of Killer Condom, get it.
Yes, definitely. Like that's not even a joke. I love that movie. It was in my top 25 movies I own. And it sucks because I can't watch it much anymore because the disc is skipping now with how
Oh
much
no.
I've watched it. So I have to be careful.
Well, hopefully, I hadn't heard about this new partnership between Vinegar Syndrome and Trauma. That's great. I hope it means that we'll get some um, upgrades, good releases soon.
Let's get some Trauma box sets, like
Yeah,
the ones from Homegrown and all that. That would be awesome.
that would make me pretty happy.
Get some Trauma and Juliet. Get all that. Oh, Tromeo and Juliet. I forgot the title, but
Well, I just found the announcement that you were referencing. So the first film they're gonna, oh, okay, they're doing their library releases as opposed to the Trauma brand releases, which is good because Killer Condom is a library release.
I didn't know
And the
that. I just saw the words trauma and theatrical and Vinegar Syndrome, and I was happy.
well, it seems to imply by on this announcement that they're also going to be releasing restored Blu-rays, and they're starting with a women in prison movie called Lust for Freedom. That sounds worth seeing.
Never heard of it, but sounds great.
Yeah. So
Well, now I'm excited now. Shit, I'm gonna have to get the subscription now, the half year.
you might have to.
So I have to get that special edition Killer Condom collection.
We can dream. We can dream.
Definitely. Well, I am
All
out
right.
of time. I got about 2 minutes, but thank you for joining. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's talk again about this stuff soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for joining, and thank you everyone for listening.